we'll start with a brief, maybe introduction of your at present, what you're doing and your research at present. So we'll start with that.
Okay, my present. So
Yeah.
I'm currently.
Yeah.
I think it's better if I give just a briefly a context of how it started
Yeah.
with you. Okay,
Yeah.
so I
Definitely.
started. I
Yeah.
started with the there's the sabji wala. Okay, so I don't know. So so I started in
It's okay. Yeah.
I started in ZSA in 2018. I was recruited as a
Uh-huh.
project researcher, a junior researcher at the project, and from that project
Uh-huh.
I gathered my PhD data, and that project was throughout the Himalayas.
Mhm.
So Darjeeling, my hometown, was one of the
Mhm.
study area. So I took advantage of that
Okay.
situation and worked at home from
Okay.
home mostly, and also had little chances to travel here and there. And
Mhm.
then after my PhD stuff were done, in
Mhm.
22, I shifted to these small programs in SECON, and then the Coexistence Consortium happened for some time. And currently, I'm
Mhm.
working with A3 as a research associate. So I look at biodiversity. My job currently is
Mhm.
to assess biodiversity in these corridors
Mhm.
between protected areas in Darjeeling and Kalimpong. So there are three protected areas,
Okay.
and there are these forests, reserve forests, and private lands, and there's tea gardens in between. So my job is to
Mhm.
assess how rich these are in terms of biodiversity, especially the private lands.
Okay. And you like focus on particular like group of species or mammals or how it goes?
Oh, no. Currently, it's not species specific at all. It is, we have a
Okay.
group of experts in the lab
Mhm.
that I'm working with currently. So we are looking at trees mostly, and then odonates, mammals, birds, butterflies. So we're taking
Mhm.
five indicators as such for now to assess
Okay.
how rich
Okay.
these places are.
Okay. So all five different experts will be there for
Yes,
each
yes. So I'm
group of
working
organisms.
mostly on mammals because I like to work with camel traps, and I've done it. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
taking care of the mammal part of this. But I'm also coordinating the rest
So
of
as,
this.
okay. And as you, I think you have done quite a lot of camera trapping during your PhD time.
Oh yeah, it all started with camel traps. It was, yeah, just the starting point. I was given camel traps right after my MSc. I've
Oh.
grown this affinity for that, and I really like to explore all the the
Uh-huh.
capabilities of what we can do with camel traps.
Mhm.
Amazing things. Yeah,
Mhm.
been a while. I've been camel
Yeah.
traps.
I was just actually going through some of your papers. So what was your actually PhD research topic and what was it
Mm-hmm.
all about, your
Yeah,
PhD?
if you look at my profile, I've been associated with so many species and so many different kinds of works. It's
Yeah.
confusing to know what is my PhD, uh, and
Yeah.
I do not talk about it a lot. Okay, uh, so it was kind of a opportunistic thing. I did not necessarily
Okay.
plan to do a PhD with pheasants per se when I started.
Mhm.
But then after
Mhm.
a year of data gathering, it was almost time for me to plan my PhD. So my supervisor
Mhm.
suggested, you have a lot of data on pheasants, why don't you try them? And then I
Mhm.
took some time to look at the pictures that we had on camera traps
Mhm.
for a year that we had gathered
Mhm.
for a year. And then yeah,
Mhm.
it hit me as like, wow, they're cool. I was always a bird person, but the flying birds,
Mhm.
not the walking birds. But then I said, why not? And apparently, I found a very striking research gap in
Mhm.
what my supervisor was suggesting.
Mhm.
There's a bird called hill partridge. There is
Yeah.
nobody has done
You
a
have.
PhD on hill partridge.
Uh-huh.
there are
Oh.
short-term studies, and there's one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a spatial study. It's not a micro habitat kind of a study.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
mostly to do with spatial distribution of the bird. But these birds are very, habitat specialists. They are very,
Mm-hmm.
they're small home ranges,
Mm-hmm.
and they are specialists. So
Mm-hmm.
it was making a lot of sense to study the hill partridge. And the thing is, it's so difficult to see or be in a place where there are lots of hill partridge. I think Darjeeling has the highest capture rates from what I've reviewed. They're abundant
Uh-huh.
in Darjeeling. Yeah. So it was opportunistic, but I'm glad I took it up at
Mm-hmm.
my PhD. So just to elaborate a bit, I had three objectives. So the first one was, of course, to see the spatial
Mm-hmm.
distribution. Of course, that's the cool thing that's going on there, distribution modeling. And
Uh-huh.
the other thing is
Uh-huh.
very, very basic habitat study. So what are the trees? What are the
Mm-hmm.
herbs? What are the shrubs? What's the canopy? What's the litter depth? Just the
Mm-hmm.
microest of the miniest and the minusculest scale of habitat um, variables. And then the third one was a bit interesting that I haven't published yet. So it's to see how
Okay.
they respond to people, to humans, to
Oh.
livestock, or to
Okay.
even distances
Okay.
from villages, kind of anthropogenic
Okay.
activities, and I don't like to call it
Uh-huh.
disturbance. So that's a pretty, interesting part. And then because
Mm-hmm.
I was studying two of these, so Cartilage is very, very robust. It's you know,
Okay.
it's not shy. And then we had Hill Partridge,
Oh. Oh.
very shy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
compare how these to compare how these the comments are distracting you.
Mm-hmm.
God, there are people I know. So yeah, I've never done a live
That's good.
before. So thank you, thank you, Manish and Aman, for the love that they're shouting.
Mhm.
So, so yeah, coming back to that,
Yeah.
it was very interesting to see how they were responding to these people
Mm-hmm.
and the cows and cattle in the forest and outside, or even how
Mm-hmm.
they behave closer to villages and how they behave when they are further inside the forest. So I'm yet to
Mm-hmm.
publish that. I'm excited.
So your it was focused on both pheasants as well as this hill partridge,
Yeah,
right? So you
Patrick,
covered both of them or only
Patrick
during your PhD?
or
So
pheasants, it's a bit
okay.
different to look at from oh my God. So it's a bit different from what the pheasants normally look like, with a long tail and that
Long
magnificent,
tail,
all
yeah.
that feathers and those
Yeah.
eyes. But hill partridge is more of a
Yeah.
small and rounder and more quail kind of a bird.
Mm-hmm.
It's so,
Okay.
and nobody sees
Then how
just
you
yeah,
ah
you just don't know
if they are so secretive, if they are so secretive, how like when you set the camera trap, for that also at least you should have preliminary knowledge. Okay, this might be the way where they might be passing. So how do you venture in that
yeah. So
that okay this area they might pass.
like I said, no, for 1 year I took just to plan my PhD. So for a year we started
Okay,
camera trapping, putting them in random places. Wherever there were
okay,
leaves on the map, there had to be one or two cameras inside each box. That was the
okay,
the command from
mm,
the PI. So we just put
okay,
as many camera traps as possible everywhere, and then
okay, okay,
I, decoded the pattern of their habitat. So these are the kind,
mm,
and also there are signs
okay,
everywhere. You can easily
okay,
make out what pheasants are in what place. If you, especially if
mm,
you have an idea of what are the species that are present here. So I knew that there are four
okay,
in my study area, and I knew where they are in what
Mhm.
elevational range, and the size and the
Mhm.
feather color, and even
Okay.
the poop is very important. So it
Oh.
was pretty easy to make out. And the wallowing site where they do the mud bath
Mhm.
and dust baths, the depressions are smaller in case of hill partridge, and the depressions are
Okay.
much bigger and more messier
Okay.
with kali.
Mhm.
So I used to kind of make out then, okay, there might be something.
But there, and even there, this this behavior is also very much specific to this species or to group
The
like,
group, yes,
okay,
the group.
hill partridge will make this kind of okay.
So everybody
So that is
does,
also specific to these
yeah,
groups.
everybody does that dust bathing for to get rid of parasites.
Okay.
So they make
Oh, that's
these,
amazing.
in those soft, sandy. They see,
Mm.
in areas where I used to work, it's almost everything is green. Everything is covered in vegetation. There's hardly any soil
Yeah.
exposed. Um,
Yeah.
or if there's soil exposed, it's under a canopy where nothing else can grow. There's leaf litter, right? So
Hmm.
you don't see a lot of markings on the ground because it's mostly under vegetation. But when they are so evident just because they're completely
Okay.
different and they pop out from the green background
Okay.
that you always see. So it's kind of easy to
Okay.
make out.
And how many sightings you had during your whole PhD time?
Hardly 10. Hardly 10.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
I was
Oh,
completely dependent on camera traps. I knew about its
okay.
existence because we'd hear that bird as a kid.
Hmm.
All the
Hmm.
time. I hear it when I brush my teeth in the morning. That they are
Okay.
the first thing that you hear
Hmm.
in the morning. They are very, very loud.
You'll
They
be
are
hearing.
very loud. So I knew there's a
Uh-huh.
bird called Pura. We call it Pura. I knew from the very beginning as a kid that there is a bird called
Hmm.
Pura in the forest. But nobody knew how it looks.
Okay.
Even I
Uh-huh.
never paid attention to it because I was more into
Uh-huh.
mammals when it started. Uh, but
Okay.
then one day,
Uh-huh.
we were going through
Hmm.
kind of a shutdown situation politically. It was a
Okay.
very volatile situation. So there was a
Okay.
strike for almost 107 days in Darjeeling. So I
Okay.
was in my final semester for my master's. I knew I had to do a dissertation, but everything was shut down. College, internet.
Hmm.
So I was, having this anxiety, what to do. And maybe
Hmm.
get
Hmm.
this dissertation out. Then I took my camera and me and my mom, we just took pictures of everything that we saw in the forest left and right from where I live. Lots of big, very nice forests on both sides of my village.
Hmm.
So it all started
Hmm.
from there, and one fine day I saw there was a big flock of partridge that was crossing the road, and there was this big army convoy passing, and these birds were just flying everywhere. They were just jumping below the road. They were somewhere flying above the road, and it was very chaotic. And I took one picture. I could only take one picture. There were, I think, 10, 12 birds, but then I could only take one picture. And when the day I took that picture, I knew that
Hmm.
Patrice looks this way. I took that picture. I went to a local
Okay.
guide, the birding guides.
Hmm.
I live very close to
Hmm.
Single National Park. So I took the picture.
Okay.
I walked 7 kilometers because there
Hmm.
was no internet. There was no
Oh.
cars flying at that time.
Hmm.
So I live very close
Hmm.
to the Nepal border, and this guy also lives in
Hmm.
on the Nepal border, right on the Nepal border, and they used to have internet
Okay.
access, Nepal SIM set.
Oh.
So I used to go to Nepal side to use internet sometimes. So that time
Uh-huh.
he told me this is hill partridge, and this bird is the one that
Hmm.
makes that sound. And I was like, wow. And they were surprised at how did you manage to take a picture, you know?
Uh-huh.
Uh, it all then. started, building up, building up, and maybe I was destined to do this. And yeah,
And this story is maybe around some 2013,
17, I think, 16, 17,
16, 17.
17. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
that's true.
Oh, so you were destined to study on partridge and
Yeah.
pheasants. And in your paper, like I was going through the abstract, and also it was mentioned they are culturally also have significance. So can you explain on that how they are culturally important?
So that is more of a generalized term for all species in that group. Uh,
Okay.
Pheasants have always been part of people's culture with the feathers around
Mhm.
their headgear, or
Mhm.
the feathers
Yeah.
are also part of costumes in many
Mhm.
tribes, especially in the northeast. If we
Mhm.
talk about India, uh, and in our
Mhm.
place, not the hill partridge, because nobody sees hill partridge. So
Mhm.
difficult. So not the hill
Okay.
partridge. There aren't a lot of customs related to hill partridge. It's just
Okay.
the sound we kind of correlate their
Mhm.
callings with season or weather.
Okay.
So in the
Oh,
breeding
okay.
season, they are the loudest. So we know, acha, this is the
Mhm.
breeding season. So, but college has always been,
Mhm.
culturally significant in terms of, we call them the,
Mhm.
like people have chicken. Chicken is people's
Okay, okay.
property, right? This- and If
Mhm. Yeah.
you 60
Yeah.
chicken, then it brings economy, and it also brings that sense
Okay.
of
Yeah.
class that I have
Uh-huh.
chicken.
Uh-huh.
So college is supposed to be a property chicken of the forest gods. Mm.
Okay. Oh.
So whenever people in the earlier days, they used to hunt college a lot. Chicken used to be college for us. Be, when there were
Oh.
when there were no farms and broilers
Uh-huh.
long time ago.
Okay. And these are game species. I was just
Yes,
going through this.
all pheasants are
So
games.
people hunt them.
Yeah, but
Oh.
very little now. Very little now. Nobody has the time and patience to hunt them. They are very clever, very fast. No?
Ah.
But
So this brings me this human
mm,
wildlife conflict. So how that thing is connected to pheasants and other
mm,
this human wildlife conflict or coexistence, what you even
mm.
have worked on.
So
Yeah.
I did not have that as my component for my thesis, but after my
Okay.
thesis, I've been hearing a lot of stories from people about how
Mm-hmm.
college has
Mm-hmm.
affected their lives. Hill Patrick
Mm-hmm.
again, clean sheet, doesn't come out of the forest, so nobody is bothered by Hill
Okay.
Patrick. But
Okay.
college comes and eats everything in the field. Uh,
Oh.
um, those leafy vegetables, sag or young
Mm-hmm.
shoot. It feeds on
Mm-hmm.
young shoot, and also
Oh.
we have those round red chilies. We call them dalle. They are very important for our economy and our culture. In traditional food, it's a very
Mm-hmm.
important part of our traditional food system. There's a chili called dalle,
Oh.
red and cherry, like to
Okay.
look at.
Okay.
So this fellow
Okay.
comes and eats that also. People are
Oh.
bad at college. Not everywhere, but in
Mm-hmm.
some places, like I said, no, they're not very shy. They're not very shy species.
Mm-hmm.
The only things that
Mm-hmm.
can keep them away are dogs. So people kind of keep dogs
Oh.
for college and monkeys and for a lot of other reasons. But yes,
Mm-hmm.
college is everybody loves to watch them. When I
Because
see,
they are
yeah,
so vibrant
they
in
are
color.
beautiful and they are just friendly. No, they are not very wary of humans. So people like to see Kali. Just, oh, I see them every day. They come here. Sometimes they feed with our chicken. They mingle with our chicken, and then I leave them some rice at backyard, and they come and eat it. It's an everyday thing to see Kali. But for households that are completely dependent on agriculture, it's a bit of a offset. Yeah,
Yeah, because it will take away their.
yeah. They just
So,
add.
so it is in a very large, yeah, it's in a very large scale. It happens that they literally destroy the crops, sort
Some
of thing.
places they are locally very, very, they have a good population locally in some places, not everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is where they are, greater in numbers.
Okay.
Uh, that's the
And definitely, like as goes with all other organisms, they also have ecological
Mm.
significance, right? So for that we have to like uh, work on their conservation aspect and all. So what are actually like basic ecological aspect these cullis or pheasants for that matter they play in a forest ecosystem?
okay. More than ecologically, I mean, let me phrase that sentence. Um, more more than having a direct effect on the a biotic ecology of a habitat,
Hmm.
it has a greater role
Hmm.
to play in the biotic food web, because
Okay.
it's supposed to
Mhm.
be the prey species for all small mammals. We don't
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
we don't have
Hmm.
a lot of herbivore species. We don't have a lot of herbivore species, and
Okay.
but we have a lot of small cats. I can name some.
Oh.
We have small clouded leopard
Mm-hmm.
isn't very small, but again, let's consider them for this conversation. There's clouded leopard, there's golden cat, there's marble cat, there's jungle cat, there's uh,
Hmm.
leopard cat. I
Hmm.
think I'm hope I'm not forgetting some. So we have these cats, but we don't have
Hmm.
smaller herbivore prey for them, except for there's deer and there's cerro. They're both I
Hmm.
think a bit bigger for these small ones, for the small cats. We have a
Hmm.
lot of birds and
Hmm.
rats. So they've always been considered at the base of the food web for
Okay.
smaller carnivores. So that way, I believe they have a very significant role to play in ecology.
Hmm. Oh, so there was quite bit of information about your research. Now let us talk about how, your research journey, how it has been throughout the PhD, and how actually you got in. As you told, like you had a good amount of data, so your PI was like, go for it. But how it has been your whole PhD journey,
Oh,
as you recently submitted your thesis.
it's been the roller coaster, the longest roller coaster of my life, I think.
Uh-huh.
Which which went a bit sketchy at the end, though. And it's like I said, I was telling
Uh-huh.
someone, I don't know if she's watching, but I was telling someone, academia is suffering, but and you choose
Mhm.
what is worth suffering for, and where do you want to suffer.
Mhm.
That's your organization. Okay, so when they ask me about my experience in my former institute, uh, I told
Mhm.
this girl yesterday that she's there's a position out and I'm thinking of applying. I said, that's the thing, it's like that. If
Mhm.
academia is toxic, it's tough, it's
Mhm.
complicated, and it's just the system and the way it works so far is like that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
again, starting from when I joined my first institution, I was
Mhm.
very happy. I was, I was having the time of my life. The first day I went in to join my interview, I thought I would not make it, But then when they called me,
Mm-hmm.
so happy. I started making those manifestations. Oh my God! I did not know the PI. I didn't know what the project was. Nothing. I was so naive, because I did not come from a wildlife kind of a background. I was, coming
Mm-hmm.
for zoology masters. Book,
Mm-hmm.
all the immune
Yeah, yeah.
system pathways. That is all I had when I did not. Anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
I started making these manifestations. Oh wow, what if I get to work with camera traps? And then I went to join with my parents to the
Okay.
office. The PI, everybody was laughing at me because I took both my parents. We were three of us. We went to join. and the first impression in the office was like, better you have to do a lot of traveling by yourself. You have come here to join with your parents. How
Uh,
will you make it? Because they knew what would be coming at me. No, my parents said she'll handle. They're
yeah.
just excited with they're very supportive. They said we're
Mm-hmm.
just excited, so that's why we came along, but she'll handle it. So I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, why not?
Mm-hmm.
And then I entered my PI's office, and there were camera traps from the floor up to the ceiling, boxes of camera
Whoa.
traps. Then I lost it. I was like, मुझे तो ये करना है. I am joining this
Uh,
project. So what I'm going to do? I started all that.
mm-hmm.
So it was, I was more than happy. I was crazy when I joined. We were sent to
Mm-hmm.
Spiti for 3 months. We were sent to Laos for three
Mm-hmm.
months to just train with our research associates
Mm-hmm.
back then. They taught me whatever I know
Mm-hmm.
now. So we were just training in Spiti and Lahore, pahad kaise chadna, camera kahan lagana, and all that thing. So uh, at a great time. And then and
Mm-hmm.
the project ended, next project started, next project joined, and things happened. And then you start competing against each other in the lab. People get thrown away. That's the truth. You have to be ready for that.
True, yeah.
Project ends. We were around 30
Mm-hmm.
people when we joined in 2018, and
Mm-hmm.
by 21 we were hardly 10, 12 people left in the lab. Everybody was
Oh.
just removed because the project was over. So so that was a bit of a shocker for me, but I was, lucky. Maybe I was still there
Mm-hmm.
because mostly because I had enrolled PhD with my PA, so he would not throw me out at that point of time. Um, and then those competition kind of things start within a lab.
Mm-hmm.
Of course you want to do good. Everybody wants to do
Yes, yes.
good. Just imagine a situation
Mm-hmm.
where everybody wants to do good. Literally everyone wants to do good, wants to be on the top, wants to be the best. And at that point of time, things got a little bit out of hand. And I think I was very immature on my side to be so dramatic and all. I was like, you know, how can you tell on me? How can a bit of a personal things. But it all makes sense now. You have to be really, really mature to take it in, which I wasn't when I faced situations like that. I just left. I was kicked out also, and I left also for good, for all the drama that I created. Uh, but then again, on a positive side, I was then exposed to so many things, and nobody had really had a say in where I was applying, where I was entering, what I was doing. I was on my own. My hands were so free, my head was so free. I was, because before that you
Mm-hmm.
have to ask your PI for everything. I want to apply for this. Can I? Should I? I want to, you know, things like that. There's a position or there's a conference or whatever. I want to apply for this, and they say, Acha, this is not useful for you. And sometimes it is true that it isn't useful. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
that fire of doing, I want to do what, just want to
Mm-hmm.
do something every time. I was like that at least. So
True.
when I was denied to don't apply, this is not useful. I used to hate it. And then when I was
Mhm.
out of that lab, I was being able to apply everywhere, you know.
Okay.
So I went to a couple of places for short terms like this. And then now finally it's been a year in A3. Um, and
It's
yeah,
been
and it's kind of the same thing, but I'm more mature to know now. That's why I told this. I think her name is Tanisha. I think that's why I told her that it's the same everywhere. You choose where you want to suffer, and what for. That.
that is so true. I think, yeah, I think without any exception, if I talk to any other PhD scholars, those who have come out, they almost tell the same thing. It's the it's your choice where you choose to suffer, which is sadly uh, true. Which shouldn't be the case. Which shouldn't be the case. If you're a researcher or PhD student and all, we should get all those, freedom to think, to apply if we wish to. So yeah, but we are imagining for a towards ideal world.
Yeah.
So,
But then again, it all
but
makes sense. When
yeah,
someone tells me recently, I was said, I don't think this is useful for you, you know.
hmm
But this time I'm more mature than I was back then, no? When somebody denies.
hmm
So I kind of start speculating, why did this person say this to me? Because this person said this to me
okay,
is much more ahead in career and they've seen it all, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And they don't want you to spend your time and energy into something that is not very significant.
yes,
I,
yes,
now I can analyze that, but not back then.
hmm
Now then I went through that document again. Now why did she not, or he or
hmm
she not let me? Why did he or she make that
hmm
comment? I went back,
hmm
meticulously read all the, everything that was there, all the eligibility criteria and what they wanted from a participant. And I
hmm
just this morning I decided that I won't apply because
hmm
I don't fit into one of their criteria. You know? So, for
hmm
example, to be more clearer for people who are here who are into research,
hmm
uh, there's
hmm
a position, there's a conference and training program happening for people who work on primates. I'm
okay,
planning my postdoc on primates. So I wanted
hmm
to apply for that. As soon as I saw primates, I applied for
hmm
this. I made up my mind. Huh? Then I went through
hmm
the criteria after I was said that I don't think this is useful. I went back and I realized that it says that they want people who work on primates that are endangered. No? Especially.
oh,
So they've written anybody who lives in a country or a area that has primates can apply, especially the ones that work
okay,
on uh, endangered
endangered,
primates. Mm. So
okay,
where I live,
mm,
there's a rhesus macaque. That is what I want to work on, and it's a nuisance species. It's not an endangered. I still thought that,
endangered, yeah,
I can kind of twist the story and make something out of it for the sake of application. But then I also realized there are two references that I need, and they will have to,
uh,
I'll be taking favors from them. They will have to write a reference letter for me. I even talked to people who are
mm,
ready to do that to me. But then I said, why? No. There will be other conferences next year. There are hundreds of conferences every year. So I might as well, try to go to one that is more focused onto
mhm.
nuisance.
Aligning with your, yes,
But
yes.
then back then, when I was
So I
in
think,
2018, 20,
uh,
I would be mad, I would be crying, and I would be doing all the, oh, they are so mean and they don't want me to grow and all that drama. So uh, it's also kind of this situation where you don't have an option but to take things positively,
Mm.
you know.
True, true, true.
Yes.
I think PhD teaches that quite a lot, like to how to be patient
Yeah.
with time.
One of my professors told me that PhD teaches you nothing, it only teaches you patience. That is his most famous dialogue. He tells that everyone who goes to him. Yeah. He
Yeah,
teaches you.
definitely. And, and how was your experience during coexistence, this
Oh,
cohort?
I think
And what actually you worked that time also you worked on pheasants or
no, it
related
was
species
from
or
that
different?
onwards, I completely separated what I was doing for my PhD.
Okay.
Because see, the drive to do that was there's not much
Mm-hmm.
advancement when it comes to ecology. There are 5 or 6
Okay.
analyses. They improvise
Mm-hmm.
on the same principles and the same algorithm, but there's no,
Mm-hmm.
groundbreaking new thing happening. Okay, so I
Mm-hmm.
learned the
True, true.
basics of all those analysis, like linear models. The SDMs are the
Mm-hmm.
hotcakes, and these occupancy models, or activity pattern
Mm-hmm.
studies, or there's not many
Mm-hmm.
that are very different from these. There are, of course, admixtures, there are abundance models again, but they are all, kind of a branch of the basic models that I named earlier. Then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Kuch- something new, And I'm not a genetics person at
Mm-hmm.
all. I have all those genetics paper under my name, but I was just taking
Mm-hmm.
samples and doing the basic stuff. I'm never a
Mm-hmm.
genetics person. So then I wanted to do something new, very long time. And then this coexistence happened, and then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is happening where I live for a long from the very beginning. What they're asking for, I have what were asking for. I have witnessed it.
Mm-hmm.
I live that coexistence. So I made an
Yes, yes.
application with my friend from Sikkim. She was also my lab mate.
Okay.
We were both kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
So we made a team, and then
Mm-hmm.
uh, she said, okay, we made this application. The application went through. Uh, the objective was to document the coexistence stories and coexistence events happening in Darjeeling and Sikkim.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say coexistence, it can be coexistence in conflict or peaceful coexistence.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay.
so and it can be
Mm-hmm.
both also. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I came across a statement. I always loved wild boars, even if it was to eat them. When you
Okay.
feed this to the sentiment analysis algorithm, it will take
Mm-hmm.
love, protection. It will
Mm-hmm.
catch that love word and say, oh, this person
Mm-hmm.
feels very positive about wild boars. He loves wild boars,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But why? To eat them? There's no word called kill there, but there's a word called eat there, which a human can differentiate that eat is after killing. Only after killing you can eat, no? But the algorithm doesn't understand that this person is saying eat after killing. It takes love and eat, and they are both positive words. So, according to the
True.
natural language processing algorithm that has built so far, I hope they get better, and they are getting better. In fact, they're growing in a very good way. So, uh,
Mm-hmm.
all these things were very intriguing to me when I first envisioned
Mm-hmm.
this coexistence thing. But then I had been reading
Mm-hmm.
about coexistence for almost a year after my PhD, because so, and then I started to see, "Acha, what more can we do to detangle this, these kinds of confusions?" And that is what I did, just confusing statements, and I leave it as it is. You know, it doesn't mean anything negative or. I was in the first place. I positioned myself in a very non-judgmental light when I started working on this coexistence project. That I'm not going to call anything negative or positive. I'm just going to name it coexistence because of an example
Mm-hmm.
like this one. So that was,
Wild boar.
yeah, that was the coexistence project. That is
Yeah.
just one example. There are hundreds and millions of more confusing examples than this one. So that is
So what coexistence that was the wild boar you worked on during
no, that was
coexistence? This
again
cohort,
multi-species, everything included,
multi-species.
from bears to
Okay.
this college also, whatever people
Mm.
wanted to talk about. We just asked them, you talk about anything you want. What is coexistence for you? What are the
Okay.
wildlife that you work, what you see? There's so much
Mm-hmm.
data in that project. I've not been able to work on it, but
Mm-hmm.
someday.
And
So that's how everything, we
so,
just have so much information about how people feel about so many different species.
and like I was reading, like you had to take interview as well for your studies, is it? To know the coexistence and all. So any particular interview you remember? That was something like stuck in your head when you
Oh,
talk to
yeah.
people, how it is
I even
related.
have a reel
Yeah.
about it. So I was talking to this old lady. You know,
Mhm.
old is such a negative connoted word, but you know,
Experience lady.
yeah, very, very, experienced and wise. And I went to her and I said, I'm here for this reason and I'm looking for this. I had a long conversation because, of course, I need to give them time, no, to put context
Open
in their
up.
head. I have to work
Uh,
more when I talk to naive people who are not, that tech gen. So I was
mhm,
explaining that
mhm.
I'm here for this, I do this and that, and she said, "Oh, I understand. We see bears all the time, every day, every May season. They are here
Uh,
every year. They make their presence felt, but only
okay.
during the season. They are not a nuisance. They come
Okay.
sometimes when they're hungry and they go." And she started saying,
Okay.
but there's nothing for them to eat in the forest also, no, during those times. So they have to come down to eat what we grow. They don't have option. And she said, one day, she was laughing when she said this to me. She said, one day my son came running to me and said, Mama, I thought there is a big dog in our cow shed, but apparently it was a bear.
Mhm,
They thought it was a dog, and then
mhm.
they keep, yeah.
There.
So after alcohol is fermented from any grain, there's left over, no, of that grain. So they
Mhm.
feed that to the pigs,
Yeah.
to the cattle, not to the cow, but then mostly to pigs. So they keep it in a big
Mhm.
burden outside their house near
Yeah.
cattle shed.
Yeah.
So the bear
Mhm.
had come to eat that because it's kind of sweet and good to taste. Oh, so
Okay.
that guy, he saw that bear, and then right beside their house, and this lady, she was laughing about it because it reminds her of how scared her son was. You know,
Oh.
when she just makes fun of him. Remember that day when you saw a bear, you came panting and running and all that at me, and it's like, oh my God, you could have gotten your son killed in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then she remembers it fondly as a joke, and she's laughing about it. And I have very luckily I was recording that. Uh,
Mhm.
as a video. She seemed pretty unbothered about it. So I said, can I take a video? And she said, yeah, why not? And then I caught that laugh, and she was laughing about such a serious situation like that. So
Yeah.
this is one of the things. There are plenty of those. But then it's
Uh,
crazy how people are so adaptive and resilient and so accepting. and so tolerant when it comes to wildlife,
Mm-hmm.
especially where I am. I think they get
Mm-hmm.
very little credit for that. Very little credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, not no. In all terms, even if it's not
Mm-hmm.
compensation and facilities, but there
Yes,
should be
yes.
some kind of recognition given to them because it's costing them a lot, even
Yes,
monetary
yes.
terms, to be so tolerant to such huge and charismatic wildlife. I can just go on and on about how appreciative
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, actually, like sitting somewhere far, it's easy to comment, but just to realize, how much effort they put in and how naturally it comes to the people living, connecting with the nature, how naturally it comes to them. Like we might be saying, oh, it was a bear, it could have killed. So next time you keep a fence or keep something, if something like that comes, we should fend them away. But they have just like taken into their souls that oh, it will
Yeah,
happen, and have no negative sentiments
yeah,
regarding
yeah,
that.
yeah. Uh,
That was
that's good.
such a beautiful story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That this Darjeeling is full of stories like this, and I'm very sure that most of the places
Hmm.
where people grew up with wildlife have even better stories than this. And just tell you one very short
Yeah.
another story that I came across very
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
I'm working in lower areas also now on the foothills of Darjeeling, and so this guy
Okay.
told me that he was rescued from drowning by an elephant. He said that
Oh.
they were watching elephants and playing on the bank of a river outside their village.
Hmm.
They were watching elephants,
Hmm.
herd, having a bath and doing their own thing, and they were also playing on the foothill, on the bank of the river, and then he got
Hmm.
swept away by the current. And then he said that
Okay.
an elephant came and rescued him when he was 8 years old. Now he's I think 40, 45, and he says
Oh.
everybody in this village who were with him, the his friends and all, they
Mhm.
all agree to it, and they said this is true, and they said I wish we had phones and cameras
Captured it.
back
Yeah.
then to take videos of it, but then that's the truth. It came and pulled me out of the river, and it put me on the bank of the river. It saved my life. So now their their village is raided by elephants every season again for maize and whatever they grow. Hmm? But they are
Okay.
not like we want to get rid of them, we want to kill them, or we just want no. What they do is
Hmm.
they just constantly open dialogues with forest department. They every year there's a because these days it's a mandate that the forest department also opens dialogues with people who live in the forest. So
Hmm. Yes.
they
Yes.
say I go everywhere advocating that we don't want to kill them, we don't want them to get removed, we want to live like how we have
Hmm.
lived for so long. It's just that we want to have safer homes to live with them. If we
Hmm.
have concrete houses, it's easier to live with elephants.
Okay. Because it won't be able to break it down.
Yeah,
And
it will be easier for us to live with elephants if we have concrete houses, and all we are asking for is a kind of a
mhm.
subsidy or something like that. So they have already come up with the
Yes.
solution
Yes. Yes.
also. See, and this
Okay.
guy,
Oh, they have the solution. You just give us this, and we don't want animals to get removed.
hmm,
But if something is happening, just compensate
yeah,
that
we
to
want
us,
just
and they're fine
yeah,
with the animals.
we just want to
Yeah.
live more safely with them, and we have, and
Yes.
they are not bad, or
Yes.
they don't want to harm. They are very convinced that they are good at the heart, that they don't want to kill and stampede and all. Also, So it's just crazy, man. And now I cannot go back to doing only ecology because of this. So I'm finding ways
Oh, yeah.
to do the ecology that I've learned because I cannot just again say I just cannot detach completely,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
just cannot do the kind of ecology that I used to do when I started.
Okay.
Just numbers and computing and analysis and all.
Modeling.
No, I just cannot do only that now. So now I'm planning my postdoc around how I can include the two together.
Okay.
Interdisciplinary
Human and
community.
environment.
Yeah, I've been trying to train myself on attending these workshops.
Mhm.
Anthropology background people are teaching us how to kind of
Mhm.
understand
Mhm.
humans. And then in the consortium, I talked to someone from a psychology background, and she taught me some.
Oh.
She gave me some very good viewpoints, and she taught me how to
Mhm.
kind of analyze the data. So I've
Mhm.
now
Mhm.
a little bit of I won't say I've learned it completely, but I got in touch with psychology people,
Mhm.
anthropology people. Then
Mhm.
I'm a ecologist
Mhm.
myself. Now I a sociology people of also. So I'm trying to be
Mhm.
an interdisciplinary person myself. Not just do
Mhm.
interdisciplinary science, but become an interdisciplinary person.
Mhm.
It's sometimes overwhelming, but that is
And actually, those who are listening and those who will listen this recording, that gives a quite, good insight to those, because I know personally some people like those who are interested in such kind of science, not to, specifically targeting at one area. Definitely there is a room for everyone, but there are some, researchers and scientists who want to go more in interdisciplinary, more in like understanding between two different aspects, human aspect involved in it, or other factors, including animals, their behavior, ecology, how it's impacting. And that also, some of your examples, what you gave, that also shows the importance of how like government bodies and other bodies, those who are politically
mm,
involved, how much they have to take under consideration to all these kind of researches, those who worked on human wildlife coexistence or conflict for that matter. How important is that? Just rather simply cutting thousands of acres of forest somewhere and trying to plant it somewhere, and thinking that it will be
yeah,
same. So these these kinds of scientific output and maybe this kind of research are very much important in a country which is like acclaimed to be a, developing and trying to cut down forest some places to build some more infrastructure for the sake of development that is required, but also uh, these things should be taken under consideration, and scientists like you or those who are in this field or who are aspiring to be such kind of interdisciplinary scientists, that will help a lot, I think, for both humans
yeah.
as well as for the nature.
Yes, I think it's time that we put environment first because we cannot survive if there's no good environment around us.
Yeah.
Economy and geopolitics and this and that. I know it's a difficult world right now, even for the government
Mhm.
to stay sane because the world is in such a chaotic state right now, even
True.
politically.
True. True.
Uh, I cannot put the blame on them because they have to keep their boundaries safe, no. Um,
Mm.
but also,
Yeah.
yet having said that, I think it just needs a little bit of more thinking and involvement before the
True. True.
decision is made, and
True.
should be
True.
more flexible to okay, we've gone halfway uh, through this project, developmental project, the so-called. So
True.
it's not working, it's detrimental. Let's
True.
think of something
True.
else and not just do,
True.
oh,
True.
right, we have to get it done by this date. Just pahad kaat do,
Mhm.
you know?
True, true,
So
true, true, true.
uh, I don't
True,
know
and
when
yeah,
I'll be
definitely.
able to, when these things, of course, it reaches their ears, but I don't know how long it will take for them to realize that this is going to be crazy disastrous.
Mhm.
Disastrous. If I start talking about this is another thing. It's just
Yes, yes.
crazy how it's in Darjeeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. We can go for hours and hours. Recently, like I think it's been months. One of director of NIAS, that's also in Bangalore. I see. So his director, he was I think ex secretary of Ministry of Earth Science. So he came here, and while his talk, he mentioned this thing quite beautifully that not only the economic, we should talk about the environmental economy as well. How much that economy involve the
Mm.
environmental issues. So that's also should be a thing should be under consideration. So I think we can go on when it comes to this aspect of research. So maybe we'll restrict it
Yes, yes.
to here, and maybe I'll ask you some last few questions like what would be your take-home message, as you have already mentioned though, but your final words to someone who is aspiring to be scientist of your area of research. What kind of take-home message you would like to give them through your
Yeah, I
research till
I
now?
had thought about two. You know, number
Yeah,
one is if you are not passionate, you just cannot sustain. You know, because
true. Yeah,
because
yeah, true.
there will be ample of times when everything will come down crushing at you, but you will still not die. Okay, nothing kills you until your heart stops beating. So you have to have that passion to do it. Walk through the fire, walk through the storm. If you want to rest for a while, take shelter, but you have to have that fire inside you and nowhere else that I will do it. And there's no other option
Mm-hmm,
other than to do it.
mm-hmm,
Yeah? Until and
mm-hmm,
unless someone comes and stabs me and kills me, I'm going to do it. That
mm-hmm.
should be
Yeah.
the starting point. When you start, you should feel that way already. And I think the other thing is
Mm-hmm,
pretty straightforward and technical that I've learned through my journey is that you should always
mm-hmm,
have a lot of people who would be willing to vouch for you.
mm-hmm,
Straightforward reference letters. You need a lot of reference letters all throughout all applications that you make. And then
true.
and I don't know how many people know this, but a lot of scholarships and especially the reputed ones, they don't want reference letters from your supervisor or your joint supervisor. They say it's not allowed. We will
Okay,
not consider. I
okay.
filled two
Oh, that's
applications.
something new.
Yes. So they say
Because
because they
till
know.
now, what I have seen, they are yeah,
Because they know now
they
your
are from
supervisor will
guideline.
either
Yeah.
write very good or will write
Yes,
very.
yes, yes, yes.
There are two.
Yeah.
So they have strictly said that it won't nahi chalega. Supervisor, joint supervisor nahi chalega. Okay. So then who will
Oh,
ask? So
true,
that
true.
is when my all those hopping around in institutes worked. So ये नहीं देखा तो ये
Okay.
देख देगा ये नहीं देख देगा ये देख देगा so and also my seniors they are like
Yes,
my
yes.
truest and the best blessings in this journey. My seniors I have now reached very good positions. They are scientists here and there.
Mm-hmm,
Just have to make a call by Yadu.
mm-hmm,
So you really need to earn those people. It doesn't come with smiling
true, true, true.
face and hey party.
True.
You don't get people like that to vouch for like that. Working together does not give you people
Yeah,
who
true,
vouch for you. It's important to
true,
have those parties
true,
with
true.
these
Yeah,
people, but you should, you know, work with them, show them what you are capable
true,
of, work
true.
together for manuscripts, work together for analysis. I know people don't like people working together and making groups and very good rapport, but then you still do it, you know.
Mm-hmm,
You really need people to vouch for you in this.
Hmm.
journey. So
Hmm.
you might as well want to genuinely have a group of people
True.
who will vouch for you, who will want good for you, you know, who are not your supervisors or joint supervisors. So you don't feel trapped.
True. I think. Yeah. Yeah. The second advice is quite yeah. As long as you are in academia or scientific work, that matters a lot. Your reference letters, your rapport with others, it's a genuine thing. If you don't have that, it will be a very hard way to go ahead.
Yeah.
Uh, Thank you so much for those two recommendations and your advice. Those are quite valuable to anyone in this field. And the last question I will ask, and then we'll wrap up. Has anyone asked you, और कितना पढ़ोगे?
Yeah, my father says that all the time to me. And my all the people around me, they are sick of me, being in my laptop all the time. They're like, my God, please shut down your laptop. They hate my laptop. So, पता नहीं कितना और
Yeah,
पढ़ूंगी. Like I will just go on as long as I
uh,
can. I think
yes,
I
yes,
can't see myself uh, stopping anywhere.
yes,
I think I've
yes.
accepted that fact that this is the kind of
Uh,
life that I would want in my life. Just pado. It's not really pado. Also,
uh,
it's yeah. You have
yeah,
to
it's
read a
yeah.
lot.
But
Yes.
yeah, other thing like it's just अभी पढ़ाई चल रही है,
Uh,
पीएचडी पढ़ाई है, पोस्ट डॉक बोल दिया तो
oh,
अगेन वो भी
yeah,
पढ़ाई
yeah,
ही है. सब पढ़ाई चल रही है अभी तक. अभी क्या कर रहा है? पढ़ रहा
yeah,
है.
yeah, yeah. So I don't
uh,
see myself
so
stopping. So I
right.
don't know कब तक पढ़ूंगी यार.
Yeah, I should keep going on. So we'll end it here, and we'll just go through once the comment box if there is any question because it has happened before that I had missed some questions. So please just scroll it if there is any question for
Oh,
you or something like
there
that.
are just a lot
I
of
see.
hearts,
Yeah.
and I see Tanisha saying hi,
Mm-hmm.
and then I see Shara Prongpa from Kelong. Oh, that is one of the places I was in in Kelong in Lahore. Uh, my
Okay.
brother is saying hi, Dr. Avantika. My God, my husband's friend Manish. I have lots of people. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Dipti has been such a blessing in my life. I just love this woman. I just love her so much. Uh,
And thanks to Dipti for suggesting. So because of her, we are here
Yeah, yeah, it's
doing.
all because of her. Thanks to her in the first place. I have someone from my field who
Yeah.
assists me in my field, says hello, Dee. I don't know if he's still there. Yeah, it's my friend saying hi and great, and oh my God, these are just lovely people. They've just been blessed. My prized possession in
Yeah.
this life are the
Yeah.
people around me. That's the best thing ever.
Yeah, so with that sweet note, we'll end this. Thank you so much for making time for this and joining and sharing your valuable experiences
Thank you
and
so much.
suggestions. I hope to see you and meet you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
hope
yeah.
to see you and meet you
Yes,
somewhere.
yes. Oh, it's sure, sure, sure. Thank you so
And
much,
and
Anthony.
and and getting to hear all those other story which we cannot cover in
Yeah,
1 hour.
yeah, yeah.
All those wildlife and human coexistence stories. So thank you so much. And for others who are listening, they joined in. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for sending all that love to Avantika and joining in. And so I'll be coming up maybe next week also. There is one session, and if you have someone you would like to recommend, you would like to hear them on this platform, please do comment. I'll try to reach them, and we'll try to get them here. So please suggest if you have someone, and please waiting and keep joining in. Next week we'll be coming again. So thank you so much. Thank you again, Avantika.
Have
Have a good day. Have a good
a
field
nice
trip.
day.
Have a good time. Yeah. Yeah. Bye bye.